The winds of the heavenly south had long since grown restless. Beneath the vast sky, ancient secrets stirred once more devils that should have perished. Whirlpools that defied common sense and cultivators whose fates were quietly being rewritten by forces unseen. The world appeared unchanged on the surface, yet beneath the calm flowed undercurrents capable of overturning heaven and earth. And at the center of this unseen tide, a figure who had vanished for decades stepped back into the world bearing power beyond reason. Secrets soaked in blood and time, and a destiny that even the heavens dared not speak of lightly. Hanley had returned. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. Within the heavenly south, there existed the state of Donghua. Among its many territories was a small and obscure region known as Ning Province, an unremarkable land. Save for one notable detail, it bordered Chang Province, the domain that harbored the infamous Devilfall Valley. Between Ning Province and Chang Province stretched an endless mountain range, jagged and desolate. Cutting the two lands apart, like a natural barrier forged by heaven itself, Ning Province was largely composed of barren desert, where trees and rivers appeared only sparsely, like reluctant visitors. Spirit veins were few and meager, scattered thinly across the land, leaving little attraction for powerful factions. As a result, only a handful of small cultivation clans had taken root there. Yet precisely because of this poverty, the province remained untouched by great powers, free, quiet, and uncontested. To the southwest of Ning Province rose a modest mountain range known as the Spirit Scale Mountains. One of the province's few spirit veins lay hidden there. The range itself stretched no more than 50 kilometers, while the spirit vein within spanned barely 5. At the heart of the Spirit Scale Mountains stood its tallest peak, flanked by 2 smaller mountains. Upon these 3 peaks, several cultivators had taken up reluctant residence. Due to the limited space, the mountains were divided among 3 cultivation clans: the Huang clan, the Li clan, and the Wang clan. All 3 clans were small and newly established. Even the strongest among them, the Huang clan, possessed no more than 2 foundation establishment cultivators. Their disciples were little more than qi condensation cultivators, the majority lingering at the 4th layer or below. As for the several thousand clan members who lacked spirit roots altogether, they had no choice but to live scattered around the foothills of the Spirit Scale Mountains. Not only were the 3 clans located close to one another, but their relations were also remarkably harmonious. Over the past century, many disciples from the 3 clans had intermarried, weaving their bloodlines together and forming bonds deeper than mere alliances. Should one investigate more closely, they would discover that although the spirit veins of the Spirit Scale Mountains were pitifully weak, a nameless spirit spring existed at the summit of the main mountain. Though this spring could not compare to something as rare and precious as a true spirit well, it possessed a miraculous property. When its water was mixed with spiritual herbs, it could be brewed into a spirit tea capable of cleansing the marrow of disciples at the 6th layer of qi, condensation, and below, laying a solid foundation for their future cultivation. The 3 clans were well aware that this land was far from ideal for cultivation. Yet it was precisely because of this spring that they remained unwilling to abandon it. Even so, the spirit spring was far from abundant. Each year, water flowed from it for only a few days, nowhere near enough to satisfy the clan's needs. After much deliberation, the elders of the 3 clans reached a joint decision. The spring would be sealed and opened only once every 10 years. Over the course of a decade, enough spring water would accumulate for a single use by the 3 clans. For this reason, the clans accepted new disciples only once every 10 years, ensuring that none of the precious water would be wasted. Thus, the 3 clans bound this trifling yet invaluable spirit spring with heavy restrictions, guarding it carefully and unsealing it only once every decade for the benefit of their younger generation. On this day, atop the Spirit Scale Mountains, the grand ceremony to open the spring was underway. Before a black stone cliff standing 3 meters tall, dozens of disciples from each clan stood neatly in line. their eyes shining with barely contained excitement as they glanced about. The eldest among them were no more than 17 or 18, while the youngest were merely 11 or 12 years old. The strongest of these youths had reached only the fourth layer of qi condensation, with most lingering at the first or second layer. At the forefront stood a dozen older cultivators, each at the 10th layer of qi condensation or above. At their center were 3 elderly men, 2 at the early foundation establishment stage, and 1 who had reached the mid-foundation establishment stage. Each of the dozen cultivators held a spell flag, standing before the stone wall as they continuously chanted incantations. The formation sealing the spring slowly dissolved under their voices. 8 restriction talismans were affixed to the stone wall, each pulsing rhythmically with light of different colors. Under the guidance of the 3 elders, the cultivators quickened their chants. The elders raised their spell flags in unison. Moments later, the 3 old men simultaneously lifted an arm, releasing a spell seal that engulfed the cliff in radiant light. One by one, the restriction talismans detached from the wall. At once, disciples holding jade boxes rushed forward, swiftly and carefully collecting the talismans before retreating without delay. For these small clans, each restriction talisman was a rare treasure none could be afforded to lose. Freed from its bindings, the stone wall trembled as a soft white light began to seep from within. The 3 elders waved their spell flags again, threads of light shooting forth and vanishing into the glow. The cliff shook violently. The ground rumbled beneath their feet as the stone wall split open down the middle, revealing a gap 30 meters wide. The young disciples' eyes widened as they stared into the depths beyond. To the 3 clans, this spirit spring was nothing short of a treasure. An ordinary disciple would likely witness it only once in their lifetime, and so none wished to miss a single detail. Yet in truth, any child of the clans could already describe its appearance with ease. 30 meters within the cave lay a pool 3 meters wide, carved directly from a massive block of white jade. The spring water within filled it halfway, crystal clear and pure beyond reproach. More striking still was the faint, indescribable fragrance that drifted through the air, soothing the body and refreshing the soul. A wave of excited murmurs erupted among the disciples, but when a pale, beardless old man turned back and fixed them with a stern gaze, silence fell instantly. He was Huang Yuanming, an elder of the Huang clan and a mid-foundation establishment cultivator. Among the Spirit Scale Mountains, he was considered the foremost cultivator. Not only did he command respect within his own clan, but the disciples of the Li and Wang clans also held him in awe. The grey-robed old man beside him chuckled, his eyes narrowing with amusement. "Hehe, Brother Huang's presence alone is enough to keep these youngsters in line." The 3rd elder, dressed in azure robes, added with admiration indeed. "Brother Huang's cultivation has already reached the mid-foundation establishment stage. Perhaps in the future, you may even advance further." Huang Yuanming laughed softly. "You two flatter me. At my age, if there is still any chance for advancement, I would rather leave it to the younger generation. Come, let us brew the spirit tea for them. It seems there is more spring water this time than in years past." Truly a fortunate matter. The Huang clan stood above the other 2, who had only barely managed to nurture a single foundation establishment cultivator each. Nevertheless, these 2 elders were longtime friends of Huang Yuanming. They smiled and said no more, instead instructing their designated disciples to step forward and begin preparing the tea. 2 disciples from each clan advanced toward the jade pool, yet before they could reach it, an astonishing scene unfolded. Thunder suddenly roared 10 meters above the pool. Rainbow-colored light flickered wildly, coalescing into a jet-black sphere, crackling with strange energy. The sphere distorted and tore open, forming a spatial rift nearly 3 meters tall. From within the rainbow light, a silhouette fell straight down into the jade pool. Moments later, the spatial tear blurred violently and vanished without a trace. The moment the figure splashed into the water, he let out a startled yelp and hastily stood upright. Every cultivator present stared at the scene in stunned disbelief. Even Huang Yuanming was rendered completely speechless. The intruder was a young man clad in azure scholar robes. Realizing he had fallen into the midst of so many cultivators, a flicker of embarrassment crossed his face, yet it vanished just as quickly, replaced by calm composure. Azure light shimmered around his body. His soaked robes dried instantly, steam rising as though evaporated by invisible flames. The young man stepped lightly into the air, floating above the water, as though standing on solid ground. His gaze shifted to Huang Yuanming, the strongest cultivator present, and he spoke with a voice imbued with unquestionable authority. "Where is this place? Am I still within the state of Dongyu?" Huang Yuanming had already swept his spiritual sense over the young man, only to find it unfathomably deep. At the very least, this was a core formation cultivator. Alarmed, he quickly bowed deeply. "This is Ning province of the state of Dongyu," he replied with utmost caution. "May I know this senior's esteemed name?" The other two elders sensed the same terrifying depth and hurriedly bowed as well, their smiles stiff and deferential. The young man blinked in surprise. "Ning province," he murmured, a contemplative expression crossing his face. 27 years after the great battle in Devilfall Valley, Han Li had finally escaped from the ruins of the Spirit Ether Garden. As Huang Yuanming and the other cultivators respectfully faced Han Li, their gazes could not help but drift toward the jade pool behind him. After Han Li's sudden descent into the half-filled spirit spring, most of the precious water had been violently scattered, leaving behind only a thin, pitiful layer at the bottom. The three elders felt an intense pang of heartache at the sight. Yet none of them dared reveal it. Before a profound cultivator of such unfathomable strength, all they could do was force smiles, fearing that even the slightest hint of dissatisfaction might invite calamity upon their clans. The instant Han Li evaporated the water clinging to his robes, a strange fragrance reached his nose. His expression shifted subtly, and he cast a casual glance toward the remaining spring water, seemingly lost in thought. That single offhand look caused the hearts of the three elders to leap into their throats. They had guarded this spirit spring for countless years. If this senior were to take a liking to it, they would have no choice but to offer it up willingly. There could be no resistance, only submission. Yet Han Li merely swept his gaze across the spring before losing interest altogether. Turning back to the three elders, he spoke calmly. "It has been a long time since I last emerged into the world. I am unfamiliar with recent events in the heavenly south. Could you fellow Taoists tell me what has transpired over the past few years?" Hearing this, Huang Yuanming felt as though a great weight had been lifted from his chest. Suppressing his relief, he bowed respectfully and replied, "Of course, Senior. If Senior does not mind this, Junior would like to invite you to our hall for a cup of tea while I explain. I will answer all of Senior's questions to the best of my knowledge." The two elders beside him also quietly exhaled, their tense expressions finally easing. Han Li glanced toward the young disciples standing in the distance. After a brief moment of contemplation, he nodded slightly. "That will do. There are indeed many things I wish to ask. I will have to trouble you three." "A trouble? Absolutely not," Huang Yuanming exclaimed, delighted. "It is our Huang clan's great honor to welcome such an esteemed expert." He immediately issued orders to several disciples, sending them ahead at full speed to prepare the hall, lest any lack of preparation cause offense. Then he personally led the way toward a pavilion situated at the heart of the mountain. The other two elders likewise issued hurried commands to their clans and followed closely behind. "Your three clans all reside together here?" Han Li asked along the way after learning more about their circumstances. His expression held a trace of surprise. "That is quite rare." Huang Yuanming gave a bitter smile. "Senior jests. It is not by choice. There is simply nowhere else for us to establish ourselves. One could say, we are trapped here." Han Li nodded faintly, then asked with mild curiosity, "The young disciples of your clans possess decent aptitude. Why have you not sent them to the great sects of the cultivation world?" Even if they cannot become core disciples, becoming external affairs disciples should not be difficult. Huang Yuanming sighed inwardly and explained helplessly, Senior may not be aware, but although there are many cultivation sects in the state of Dongyu, most of them only accept disciples from established cultivator clans or directly control several clans of their own. We are merely minor clans unworthy of their attention. Even if a few disciples stand out, he continued, I dare not send them away. They must remain within the clan to uphold our prestige and ensure our survival. These elders might have advanced far further had they joined a large sect, but doing so would mean abandoning their clans and leaving them defenseless. Han Li blinked thoughtfully and nodded, saying nothing further as a cluster of buildings soon came into view. Huang Yuanming led Han Li straight toward the tallest structure among them. Moments later, they arrived at the pavilion entrance, where 2 rows of young female disciples stood waiting respectfully, their expressions solemn and composed. As they ushered Han Li inside, Huang Yuanming spoke carefully, Senior, please enter. Although our spirit scale mountains do not produce spirit medicines or rare fruits, we do have some passable tea. At least enough for a few cups. Han Li followed them in. The pavilion was not large, barely 100 meters across, but it was more than sufficient for a small clan. Under the respectful gazes of those present, Han Li calmly took a seat. The 3 elders remained standing, not daring to place themselves on equal footing with him. Given the vast disparity in cultivation, Han Li did not bother to decline out of courtesy. A moment later, a graceful female disciple approached with a tray, carefully placing a teacup before Han Li before retreating in silence. Han Li casually lifted the cup and took a sip. The tea was bitter at first, but soon an unusual fragrance bloomed across his palate, lingering pleasantly. Not bad, he remarked, a faint, enigmatic smile forming at the corner of his mouth. Truly rare tea. The plump elder finally spoke, his tone cautious. Senior's cultivation is deep and immeasurable, yet your face is unfamiliar to us. Might Senior not be a cultivator of the state of Dongyu? No, Han Li replied plainly. I am not from here. There is no need for concern. After I finish asking a few questions, I will depart immediately. I will not linger and cause trouble. He offered the plump elder a brief glance and a mysterious smile, making no move to reveal his name. Startled, Huang Yuanming quickly interjected, his expression shifting. Senior is far too considerate. It is our great fortune to encounter you. We would never dare to disrespectfully rush you away. Han Li waved his hand lightly. It is fine. I understand the fear and expectation you low-level cultivators hold toward me. As long as you answer my questions to my satisfaction, I do not mind granting you a few benefits. After all, our meeting can be considered fate. At these words, Huang Yuanming's heart leapt with joy. He bowed even more deeply and replied with utmost sincerity, If Senior has any questions, please feel free to ask. Though our clan is small, we are well informed. We will certainly provide answers worthy of Senior. Han Li smiled faintly. He knew well that even without rewards, these elders would not dare deceive him, but with such promises, they would surely provide every detail they knew and perhaps even more. He glanced at the 3 elders and said calmly, Since you reside so close to Chang Province, you should know something about the cultivators who entered Devilfall Valley the last time it opened. Tell me what happened. Devilfall Valley. Huang Yuanming was momentarily puzzled, but he quickly composed himself. Yes, Senior, we do know of that matter. He gathered his thoughts and began to recount more than 20 years ago. A vast number of cultivators entered Devilfall Valley in search of treasure. The Ghost Spirit sect discovered a relatively safe method to enter the valley, allowing several hundred core formation cultivators and dozens of nascent soul cultivators to venture inside in pursuit of ancient cultivator relics. However, Devilfall Valley lived up to its fearsome reputation. Most cultivators never ventured beyond its outer regions and perished to the countless restrictions and spatial tiers. Fewer than half managed to return alive. His expression darkened. Worse still, the Ghost Spirit sect's group accidentally released 2 ancient devils, capable of devouring nascent souls, resulting in the death of the ghost spirit sect master himself. These devils were terrifyingly powerful. According to eyewitnesses, the nascent soul cultivators who reached the valley depths were forced to unite against them. Even with senior Wei Wuya and the Mulan divine sage fighting alongside them, they only managed to slay one devil. The other escaped. There were heavy casualties, many renowned seniors fell. Huang Yuanming continued solemnly. Yet Devilfall Valley is truly an ancient cultivator cemetery. Those who survived emerged with immense gains. Some even obtained pills that extended lifespan or shattered bottlenecks, causing tremendous upheaval throughout the cultivation world. Later driven by envy, many cultivators attempted to enter the valley using the ghost spirit sect's transportation formation. Despite the instability of the spatial tiers, none of them ever returned. Since then, Devilfall Valley has once again become a forbidden land, one that no one dares approach. You said one devil escaped, Han Li said quietly. His heart sank and his expression turned grave. What became of it? Huang Yuanming's face grew heavy. Even if Senior had not asked, I would have mentioned it. That devil became a calamity upon the heavenly South cultivation world. Han Li frowned, remaining silent as he waited for him to continue. At first, Huang Yuanming said slowly, some seniors believed the devil could not exist long in the human realm and would eventually return to where it came from. Thus, it was not taken seriously. But no one expected it to ambush high-grade cultivators without restraint, devouring their nascent souls to restore its strength. In just a few short years, 7 nascent soul cultivators fell to it, and still the devil did not leave. Only then did everyone realize that it had used some unknown method to prolong its stay in this realm. When this became clear, the 3 great heavenly South cultivators and over a dozen carefully selected mid-nascent soul seniors organized a hunting party. Yet the devil was extremely cunning, refusing to confront them directly. Instead, it hunted them down one by one. It even attacked the Mulan, provoking them to dispatch sages to join the pursuit. From then on, the devil could no longer escape the combined hunt of the cultivators and the Mulan. But that only drove it into a frenzy. In its final month, it launched a massacre, destroying over a dozen cultivation clans and several small sects that lacked the power to resist. At last, a dying elder from a devilish sect used a secret technique, allowing the hunting party to locate and surround the devil in the state of Fengdu. Huang Yuanming paused, his voice trembling slightly. I heard that by then the devil had fully recovered its strength, nearly reaching the deity transformation stage. 2 great heavenly South cultivators and a Mulan divine sage fought it together in a battle that lasted an entire day, flattening Soulfall Mountain into a plain. No other cultivators were able to intervene. As he finished speaking, Huang Yuanming could not suppress the shock that surfaced in his expression. When Han Li heard this, his heart was shaken to the core. The combined might of 3 late nascent soul cultivators had failed to suppress the elder devil within a short time. This alone was enough to make one's scalp tingle. It seemed that after regaining its strength, the elder devil's power had already reached a level comparable to a deity transformation cultivator. Was the devil slain in that battle? Han Li asked calmly, his expression betraying none of the turbulence in his heart. This junior is not certain, Huang Yuanming replied with some hesitation. There are rumors claiming that the devil employed some inconceivable technique to escape the encirclement. However, given our clan's limited influence, we were unable to uncover the truth. Still, since that battle, no trace of the devil has appeared anywhere in the heavenly South. Perhaps it truly perished body and soul. Perished in body and soul, Han Li stroked his chin slowly. After pondering for a moment, doubt surfaced in his eyes. If the devil had truly been annihilated, such a monumental achievement would never have been concealed. Those great cultivators would have announced it to the world without hesitation. Most likely something unusual had occurred, and the truth was deliberately being hidden. There was also another possibility that the devil had suffered severe injuries and was forced into hiding to recuperate, or that it had fled the heavenly South altogether. The more Han Li thought about it, the more plausible this seemed. Since he could not reach a definitive conclusion for now, he cast the matter aside, pushing it to the back of his mind. Fellow Taoist Huang Hanli asked, "Has anything else of note occurred since the incident at Devilfall Valley?" Huang Yuanming pondered briefly before replying, "There have indeed been a few events over the past years. While none compare to Devilfall Valley or the escaped devil, they are still worthy of attention. Not long after the devil vanished, a strange whirlpool appeared in the endless sea bordering the state of Xi. This whirlpool released an enormous amount of spiritual qi, purifying the surrounding waters. Shortly thereafter, 7 small islands emerged around it. Each island emits astonishing spiritual qi, as all of them possess rare top-grade spirit veins. At the time, the 3 great heavenly south cultivators convened a meeting with many major sects to discuss the ownership of these islands. In the end, the 7 islands were divided among 7 large sects. Huang Yuanming's tone grew more solemn. As for the whirlpool itself, it was said to be immeasurably deep. Many cultivators attempted to explore it, but the pressure within was terrifying. I heard that even Master Sunreach, one of the 3 great heavenly south cultivators, descended over 10 kilometers, before being forced to retreat, unable to endure the pressure any further. A great whirlpool like that actually appeared. Han Li revealed a rare hint of surprise, his voice tinged with astonishment. How could this junior dare deceive senior? Huang Yuanming replied with a respectful smile. This matter spread throughout the cultivation world several years ago. Senior may confirm it with anyone else. Han Li nodded slowly, finding the matter intriguing. He proceeded to ask about other affairs, particularly the recent movements of the Mulan tribes and the righteous and devilish Daos. Huang Yuanming answered carefully and thoroughly, with the other 2 elders occasionally interjecting to supplement his account. Before long, Han Li had gained a clear understanding of the events of recent years, and his heart finally settled. Aside from the whirlpool and the elder devil, the so-called major events consisted mostly of the emergence of rare spirit medicines, powerful treasures, or conflicts between cultivation sects. None of these held much significance for Han Li, yet he continued listening patiently. As for the drifting cloud sect, Han Li did not bother to inquire. This place lay far too distant from the state of Xi, and these minor clans would not possess detailed information. If he wished to learn the truth about the drifting cloud sect, he would need to visit a market city or return to the state of Xi himself. Satisfied with their report, Han Li swept his sleeve lightly across the table. In a flash of azure light, a pair of dazzling golden short spears appeared atop it. "Thank you for sharing this information," Han Li said calmly. "I have nothing particularly remarkable to offer, but I will give you these 3 broken gold spears." Many thanks for Senior's generosity. Huang Yuanming examined the spears briefly before hastily bowing, his face filled with joy. These are high-grade magic tools. It was not that they lacked high-grade magic tools altogether, but they possessed only a handful, each one cherished as a treasure. To obtain such valuable items merely by answering a few questions was more than enough to delight them. These broken gold spears may only be high-grade magic tools, Han Li continued with a faint chuckle, but when used together, their power rivals that of top-grade magic tools. I acquired them long ago out of curiosity, and they have remained unused. Do not underestimate them. Since I have given you your reward, I will now take my leave. If fate allows it, this one surnamed Han may meet you again in the future." As his words fell, Han Li's body shimmered with light. In the blink of an eye, he transformed into an azure streak and shot out of the hall, disappearing into the horizon in a series of flashing arcs. The 3 elders were left staring in stunned silence. They had not expected Han Li to depart so abruptly. Swallowing the words of thanks that had risen to their lips, they turned their gazes to the golden spears resting quietly on the table. How generous, the plump elder murmured. To give away a pair of high-grade magic tools so casually, that depends on who is looking at them. The taciturn, white-robed elder replied, his expression strange. To us, high-grade magic tools are priceless. To that senior, they may be nothing at all. Brother Wang, what do you mean? Huang Yuanming's heart stirred. The plump elder also turned toward the white-robed man in shock. The white-robed elder smiled wryly. You are both clever men, yet you fail to see this. He questioned us closely about Devilfall Valley, and the devil possesses such terrifying cultivation at such a young age, and even gave his surname as Han. Have you truly not realized who he is? Do not forget when the two devils appeared in Devilfall Valley. There was one particularly famous cultivator who vanished in that battle. You mean? Huang Yuanming cried out, alarm flashing across his face. That senior was Han. The plump elder's expression changed dramatically as well. The white-robed elder nodded slowly. You now understand. That senior stands on the same level as the three great Heavenly South cultivators. His generosity is only natural. After a brief silence, Huang Yuanming sighed softly. Brother Wang's reasoning is sound, but whether or not he is truly senior, Han makes no difference to us. Even if we wish to form a connection, cultivators of our level could never catch his interest. That he left us two high-grade magic tools is already an unexpected blessing. Perhaps he merely wished to compensate us for damaging the spirit spring. Let us first decide how to handle these spears. Such an opportunity was rare, but an existence like Han Li would never linger over minor clans such as theirs. There was no need for regret. The two elders nodded, setting aside further discussion of Han Li's identity. Their gazes returned to the golden spear's tangible treasures lying right before them. Soon the three elders began discussing how best to allocate them. By then Han Li was already more than 50 kilometers away. He had only barely emerged from the spatial tear. That he appeared within the state of donghua was already fortunate. Spatial tears were fickle things drifting endlessly. It would not have been strange if he had emerged countless leagues away. Monarch Soul Divergence's voice echoed within Han Li's mind. Boy, where will you go now? Will you return to the drifting cloud sect? I still lack several materials needed for my puppet body. They must be gathered. Han Li frowned slightly and replied helplessly, I know. But the materials you require are exceedingly rare in this world. I doubt they all exist within the Heavenly South. Even if they do, gathering them will take an extremely long time. Monarch Soul Divergence snorted irritably. Do you think I can wait another 80 years? If you cannot find them in the Heavenly South, then go to the Jin Empire. As long as you have enough spirit stones, you can find any rare material there. I've already told you, if I cannot refine my puppet body, I would rather destroy my refinement methods than hand them over to you. Be at ease. Han Li sighed, his tone heavy. I was already planning to make a trip to the Jin Empire. Didn't you say the baleful qi within my body is too dense? That if I use the Blood Devil sword 2 or 3 more times, my body will slowly erode. Not to mention, I would never be able to advance past mid-nascent soul stage. So you do understand, Monarch Soul Divergence, replied, his tone suddenly bright. At first I found it strange that you carried such heavy baleful qi at such a young age. In my time I was no gentle figure myself, yet I possessed less than 1/10 of your baleful qi. Tsk, tsk, truly strange. Would it not be better to change your cultivation art and use that baleful qi to advance? Of course, he added with a sly note, when you reach the deity transformation stage, you would ascend to the elder devil realm rather than the spirit realm. I have no interest in cultivating to the point of becoming some monster like that elder devil. Han Li replied coldly, his voice devoid of hesitation. A brief silence followed. Then Monarch Soul Divergence spoke again, his tone strangely amused. Youngster Han, do you truly believe that all elder devils take on grotesque, inhuman forms? Han Li was startled. What does senior mean? Are you saying that after transforming into an elder devil, one wouldn't necessarily assume that otherworldly appearance? Could one retain a human form? You've misunderstood, Monarch Soul Divergence replied lazily. According to the records I've read, devil cultivators who ascend to the devil realm and enter the ranks of the elder devils generally retain their human appearance. Of course, that is assuming they haven't deliberately altered their bodies through devilish techniques. At the end of the ancient war between cultivators and elder devils, a small number of humans were seduced by high-grade elder devils and completely fused with devilish chi. These cultivators willingly joined the ranks of the elder devils, making the final battles even more ferocious. It was said that devil-fied humans retained their outward appearance and intelligence. However, since they submitted themselves to those high-grade elder devils, whether there were deeper consequences remains unknown. This eventually gave rise to the legend that humans who cultivated elder devil techniques to the pinnacle would ascend to the elder devil realm. There are, however, two types of elder devils that truly possess grotesque fantastical forms. Monarch soul divergence continued. The first are peak existences native to the elder devil realm itself, known as divine ancestors. They are exceedingly rare, yet each one is terrifying beyond measure. Some cultivators who practice elder devil arts even repeatedly invoke the names of these divine ancestors, drawing in their devilish chi to cultivate. The second type are demon clans, originating from the mortal realm, beings that cultivated devilish arts and ascended to the elder devil realm. Demon beasts were never human to begin with, so their elder devil forms are naturally vicious and hideous. Hanley frowned. Demon clans. How could that be possible? How could they cultivate elder devil arts? Monarch soul divergence cut him off lazily. Don't ask me, I don't know. The records only mention it in passing. But it seems that the ancient demons came into contact with the elder devils long before humans ever did. I have encountered a few high-grade demon clan members in the past, and none of them cultivated devil arts, nor did they emit devilish chi. Perhaps you will find your answers in the Jin Empire. If any place still preserves ancient cultivator records, it would be there. Han Li's expression flickered. He instinctively thought of the sacred provenance plate, a legacy treasure of the demon clans. The three-headed, six-armed cultivation art recorded upon it bore an uncanny resemblance to the elder devil's two-headed, four-armed form. Could it be there is some hidden connection between them? After a moment of silence, Han Li suddenly laughed softly. Even if there truly was some deep-seated link between the demon clans and the elder devils, he had neither the time nor the inclination to investigate it. Such matters were better left to those obsessed with ancient secrets. As for the sacred provenance plate, it was already ruined, and even if it were intact, he had no intention of cultivating demon arts. He still did not know how long it would take to fully master the Azure Essence Sword arts. Moreover, techniques tied to elder devils and demon clans were fundamentally unsuitable for a human cultivator. Hanley shook his head, discarding the matter entirely, and refocused on the conversation. "There is no need to worry about your puppet body," he said bluntly. "I will assist you in collecting the materials, regardless of whether I go to the Jin Empire. However, you mentioned that the refinement of the seven-flame fan was nearly complete 2 years ago. It should be finished by now. I have lost 2 of my flying swords and cannot deploy my sword formation. I am in urgent need of a powerful treasure. You may as well give it to me now." During their years of confinement within the pocket dimension, Hanley and Monarch Soul Divergence had come to understand one another deeply. Their relationship had evolved into something between companions and master and disciple. Monarch Soul Divergence replied frankly, "I substituted the extinct materials in the Seven Flame Fan's refinement for you. However, I cannot guarantee a high chance of success. With these changes, the fan would be more accurately called the Tri-Flame Fan. It originally required 81 fire attribute spirit materials. I reduced that number to 31. Naturally, its might has also been reduced by more than half." "That doesn't matter," Hanley replied calmly. "If divine spirit treasures are truly as formidable as legends claim, then even a weakened Tri-Flame Fan should be enough to suppress ordinary cultivators." "Very well," Monarch Soul Divergence said indifferently. "I've placed the refinement method within this jade slip. Take a careful look. That said, many of the remaining materials are still extremely difficult to obtain. Refining the fan will cost you dearly." As he spoke, the bamboo tube on Han Li's back opened. A white jade slip shot out, which Han Li caught effortlessly and examined with his spiritual sense. After skimming its contents, his brows slowly knitted together. Monarch's soul divergence spoke again, his tone lazy. The other materials can be gathered with time, and some can be refined or substituted. But the plume of a horizon yang bird and the scales of a scarlet flame flood dragon will be nearly impossible. At the very least, I know of no easy replacements. These materials certainly do not exist within the heavenly south. In the past, when I visited the Jin Empire, I saw a young woman of Yang Summit Palace raising a horizon yang bird. Even if the bird is long gone, some remnants should still exist. You should search for them. As for the scarlet flame flood dragon, that will depend on your luck. Still, if you go to the Jin Empire resolving, it should not be difficult. Hanli snorted helplessly. You still insist on sending me to the Great Jin? Her monarch soul divergence chuckled. I'm urging you to go for your own sake as well. Once you arrive, you'll understand why it is called the sacred land of cultivators. The Great Jin Empire is the heart of all cultivation. Having made his decision, Hanli nodded. Very well, but before I leave the state of Donghua, there is something I must do. I need to take a look at the outskirts of Devilfall Valley. What are you planning to do there? Monarch Soul Divergence asked warily. Relax. I don't intend to enter it, Hanli replied. Do you remember the Sovereign Devil Corpse? Before entering the spatial tear, I placed a secret technique on it. I need to see whether it still exists and whether I can summon it. With that, Hanli abruptly increased his speed, tearing through the heavens like an azure streak. Upon entering Chang Province, he headed straight for the Myriad Chain Mountains, arriving at the entrance of Devilfall Valley. After lingering there for 2 full days, he managed to confirm the Sovereign Devil Corpse's location. Unfortunately, it seemed to be trapped deep within the valley. No matter what spell seals he used, he was unable to draw it out. After hesitating for a long time, Hanli could only depart gloomily. It seemed he would have to wait until Devilfall Valley opened once more to retrieve his corpse puppet, assuming it had survived all these years. 2 months later, Hanli reappeared near the Dream Cloud Mountains. As he approached, he encountered a patrol of drifting Cloud Sect disciples. Overjoyed at his return, they warmly welcomed him and immediately sent word to the sect elders. Before long, the entire drifting Cloud Sect emerged to greet Hanli as an illustrious Grand Elder. At the forefront stood Lu Luo and Senior Marshal Brother Chang. Both were visibly delighted upon seeing him. Without wasting words, they quickly escorted Hanli back into the sect and dismissed the surrounding disciples. The 3 entered the main hall and took their seats. Senior Marshal Brother Cheng could hardly contain his excitement. Junior Marshal Brother Han, I knew nothing would happen to you with your abilities. But since you survived, why didn't you return earlier? You truly had us worried. Lulo smiled warmly. Indeed. Had you returned sooner, Junior Marshal Brother Han, we would have been far more at ease. You misunderstand, Hanli replied with a helpless smile. I was trapped within a pocket dimension and only recently managed to escape. I returned as soon as I was able. Regardless, Senior Marshal Brother Chang said solemnly as he rose and bowed deeply. It is enough that you returned alive. Now that I think about it, I never properly thanked you for saving my life. Without you, I would have surely perished. It was nothing, Hanli replied sincerely. Ever since I joined the Drifting Cloud Sect, Senior Marshal Brother Cheng has treated me kindly. How could I stand by when you were in danger? How could such words compare to the grace of saving my life? Cheng exclaimed. Ah, by the way, Junior Marshal Brother Han, you must still be worried about Sister Nangong. Rest assured, she remains safe sealed within the ice. At those words, Hanli let out a long breath, the tension in his heart finally easing. Just then, Luluo examined him closely, disbelief gradually spreading across her face. Junior Marshal Brother Han, you've reached mid-nascent soul stage. When did this happen? This is truly inconceivable. Did you encounter some great fortune within Devilfall Valley? That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.